Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Lori Jeskowitz coming to you live today. How's everybody doing? I am a money mindset and manifestation coach, and I wanted to pop in today and just share a little bit, as you can tell by the title of this live, which is, what would you be doing if fear wasn't getting in the way? If fear wasn't an issue, if you could just take that fear that you're experiencing and you could pull it out, move it to the side, and there was nothing in between you and what you wanted to be doing, I want to know, what would you be doing? What would your life look like? What would you be doing, right? So if you can hear me, let me know. And you'll put a heart in the comments or just say hi, just like say what's up, maybe wave. Just let me know that you can hear me okay. I finally got my new phone. It was all ordered and in, so my microphone should be all good. So awesome. So I wanted to pop in here today and talk a little bit about what is stopping you, what is getting in the way, and it's oftentimes fear, but you might not think that it's fear, right? And there might be something there probably is something that you want to be doing. Hi, Jill. How are you? It's so good to see you. Can you hear me okay? If you can just put that in the comments, that'd be great. I'm going to keep my hair out of my microphone. So what would you be doing if fear wasn't getting in the way? You know, sometimes when we really, oh, thank you. Cool. I can see that. Yeah, you can hear me. So sometimes when there's something that we really want to do, that we want to take action on, or maybe we're just like thinking of it. It's something that excites us. It's something that lights us up. And we're like, yeah, I want to do that. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jill. And we're like, we want to do that. I want to do that. And then like right after that, like there's this stage, right? And it's excitement. And you were just like, yes, I want to do this. This is lighting me up. And there's like this excitement. Remember like the last live we were talking about, it's like that rocket fuel is underneath you. It is helping you to launch, right? Like over 60% of the fuel that you use in launching and getting started on something is during takeoff, right? It's getting you up and off and just starting. Over 60% of the fuel is used to launch a rocket, right at liftoff alone, okay? So you're excited and then like, oh my God, like the fear is starting to show up. And it might not always show up and you're like, oh, this is fear, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about what fear can sound like and listen and feel like. Hi, Leah. It's wonderful to have you here today. How are you, girl? And sometimes it can show up and it can be like, oh my gosh, like, can I really do this? Or what if it doesn't work? Or how am I going to make the time for this, right? Like we start and our brain just kicks on and activates, and it can hide and hang out like this with fear. And there's another way it can hide and hang out also, and that's with the how. And we're going to be talking more about the how tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow too. Like the how is like getting in the way for you. Like, how am I going to do this, right? These are like indications that we're relying on our brain, which is a big, beautiful brain. We love our brain. It helps us do so much. But there's actually like this whole axis of consciousness, which is your three brains, your brain in your gut, it's your brain in your heart, and the brain in your head. When all three of these unite, that is how you are physically, or that is your body's physiology. That is how you are naturally wired to take action, to do things, to think, right? To then decide and choose and take action. Okay. So it's when all of those three come together. So sometimes when that fear voice, those gremlins, sometimes they can hang out as party poopers, or whatever. It's those voices, those thoughts, the second guessing. Oh, is anyone else? Like, does second guessing show up for you? Because like, this is a challenge for me too. And really, that is another way that fear hangs out. It is also another indication of like, this is an area where it's like an indication that we can grow and expand our level of trust, faith, and confidence in ourselves, right? It's learning to let go, like, I don't want to say let go, but it's learning to stop relying so heavily on our brain and starting to trust our bodies that this is a good idea. How about third guessing? Oh, okay, Leah. Second, third, fourth, all the way down, right? And And like this can also show up as another. So you bring up a really good point, Leah. Thank you for saying that. Because this also then, so we're second guessing, we're third guessing, we're fourth guessing. Guess now what we're doing. Now we're just straight up overthinking. And this can totally derail us, right? This starts the swirl. This starts the I call it like the swirl into unknown and swirl. And when you swirl like this, it's like, it's just off the tracks, right? It's off the rails. Your brain is like, shit, now we're not safe. Now we're totally not doing this thing. Even though it sounded great just, 5 minutes ago. And again, here's the timeline. It's usually very fast. From the moment, the inception that you breathe in that idea, that inspiration that maybe comes through in a meditation, or that maybe it comes through in those moments of quiet, those moments of pausing and stillness, right? And then all of a sudden, all the thoughts, all the second guessing, the third guessing, the overthinking, the doubting yourself comes into play, right? Yes. So, and really, this is fear. It's fear of not knowing. It's fear of not knowing the how. It's fear of what's going to happen here. And instead of having that, because I talk to coaches, I talk to my clients every day, right? How can we get clear about exactly what we're afraid of? What is that fear? And what we can do is, and I have a journal prompt for you that's going to really help you with this, because when you don't know what is this fear, is it like the second guessing, the doubting, right? The fear, it's really you're saying to yourself, can I really do this, right? And I am betting on you a million times over to infinity and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear would say. Yes, you can do this. So I want to start with, if you have received an idea or an inspiration, it is with you because it is yours. And what is meant for you will never miss. An inspiration, ideas are looking to come alive, and they need people to make it happen. So when something is speaking to you, when you get an idea and an inspiration, like the next time this happens, I want you to remember this. This is mine. This is a gift that's been given to me. This idea, this inspiration has chosen me. How can I trust myself, lean on myself, learn to start to flex this muscle of relying and trusting the inspirations that are showing up, and just go with it and see what happens, okay? And something that can help you is like when you know specifically what your voices are, when you know specifically what your fears are, if it's self-doubt, if it's second guessing, if it's can I do this? Whatever those voices are, I'm going to give you a journaling prompt here, okay? I want you to grab a pen and paper as soon as we're off this live, because you're going to put it off and you're going to say, I'm going to do that later, and I'm right here to tell you you're not going to do it later, okay? Like, do it right when you're in this energy. I want you to close your eyes and just take a deep breath in and just center yourself and ground yourself and give yourself even just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I want you just to ask yourself, what is showing up for me? What am I afraid of? And I want you to write it all down. I want you to just purge it out of you and onto the paper. And whether it's I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to figure this out. I'm afraid that people are going to laugh at me or think I'm crazy and on my mind. Look, I'm going to tell you something else too, because, and this is, if you often find yourself and like people are like, whoa, that's out there. Like, and if you feel different, and if you feel like, I don't know, like putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, like if you ever feel like you're different, like you're different, like that other people don't necessarily see things the way that you see things, I want you to freaking own that, okay? Like that is another one of your gifts. I thought for years that I was the freaking problem, right? And you know why? Because like nobody ever agreed with me. And I got to the point where I was just like, y'all don't have to agree with me. I don't need you to agree with me. This is what I know is right and true for me. And this is where I want to be speaking and coming from. Okay. So if you're like, oh my God, this idea, people are going to think like, what did you do now, girl? Like, own that. That idea has been given to you for a reason. It is 100% amazing to be different and to, stand apart, and if you're different, like you are doing something right. Okay. Like we are all different and it is unique. And I want you to own that and embrace it. That is one of your gifts that makes you you. And, and it's something that, we get to work through it, right? It doesn't necessarily show up one day. It's something that, if you feel like you're weird, I want you to own that and embrace it. I love it. Share. Do you feel that way? Like, what is the thing that you feel? Put it in the comments. I want to know. I want you embrace that. Those are your gifts. Okay. So if that's one of the fears that shows up, or like people are going to think I'm crazy, or people are really going to think I've gone off the deep end. Okay, great. Let's write that down in these journal prompts. Okay, write down what is the thing that you're afraid of, because when my dogs are saying hi. That's Clark and Phoebe. When you know what the fears are, you can recognize them and be like, oh, I hear you. I totally hear you. We want to have compassion, understanding, right, for these fears. And we also want to remember that we're coming back to what it is that we truly do want. What's on the other side of that inspiration? So after you write down all the things that you're afraid of, I want you to do another column or on the back page or a separate page or whatever. What might be possible if it actually worked? What would be on the other side of that fear? So you actually do the thing that has been that inspiration. That I'm going to share a story with you. I used to be terrified of doing lives just like this, right? I don't mind them now. I get excited to come on. When I've got something to share, I'm like, I have my little outline, the whole thing. But I used to be terrified. People are going to think I'm freaking nuts. Who's going to watch a video, right? Of me just sharing. Who the heck am I to say anything? And, these are the thoughts that used to just go through. But you know what? It's what am I afraid of? I'm I'm afraid people are going to think I'm nuts. I'm afraid people are going to think I'm crazy. You know what? They probably are already thinking that. And you know what? We think that people are thinking that we're crazy and nuts. And half the time, 90% of the time, they're not even thinking about us. They're in their journey, their path, right? So we don't have to worry about that. And the more that you flex that muscle, the more you say the scary thing, the thing that you are resisting, the thing that you are scared is oftentimes, I'm going to say for me personally, every time the thing that I'm resisting, every time the thing that I'm afraid to do is the actual freaking thing I need to do. And then on the other side of that is what the frick took me so long? I should have done that weeks ago or months ago or whatever the time frame is, right? So these flowers behind me, I just put them up on my wall. Aren't they so pretty? They're peonies. They're one of my favorite flowers. Do you know that these were in the box for 30 days because I was petrified? What if I screw up the wall? I'm and it looks fabulous, right? We do these things, great. And so it can be little things, it can be small things. I really want you to journal. What are the things that are what's coming up for you when you get an idea and inspiration, or there's something that you want to do? Then the second thing is, what would you be doing if the fear wasn't there? If there was no fear, what would you be doing? Would you be starting your own business? What would you be doing? I want to know. You put it in the comments, you can message me, whatever. I want to know, what would you be doing? Okay? And then the third thing is, what if it all worked out? What if the fear is just this block, right? It's this, the fear pops up, it comes in, here's you, here's the fear, and me is what you want. Or here's you, here's the fear, and here's what you want. And then you just get to step into it. What would change in your life if you moved through that fear and just did the scary thing? And you can start small. You don't have to go off and do you can just start small. It can just be one little step. And I want to know, what's the thing that's scaring you? What are you afraid is going to happen? Okay, so we have what's the thing, what are the voices, so you can recognize them and know them and own them for what they are. Second guessing, third guessing, fourth guessing, overthinking things. We often overcomplicate things, right? We all do this. from time to time, one or another. But when you are aware of like, I'm in my process here, like, here we go, like I'm in the overthinking land. When you know, you're like, oh, here I am. Great. Fear's showing up. This is showing up. I know what I'm doing. This is here. I know that on the other side of this is everything that I want. I know on the other side of this. So let me run through the list, right? And let me also switch and take that energy and flip it around to what if it all worked out? Okay, so take some time today, right? Make time, do this, journal, because it is amazing what comes forward when you take this time to just this self-reflection. I recommend sitting down, maybe, putting on your diffuser. I love moist heat therapy, so I make homemade rice socks. I love heating up a nice rice sock, sitting down, maybe a nice hot cup of tea or coffee or whatever, and just prep your little space. Set the intention to learning body this fear when it shows up. Like, what's it sound like? What's it saying? Right? Get that clarity. Write everything down. Journal. What happens if it works out? Because you know what? It's going to work out, right? What would that look like? And as you recognize when the fear is talking and the difference between, and of course, if fear, if there's mortal danger, obviously fear is a wonderful tool that keeps us safe. It keeps us from walking off of cliffs. It keeps us out of dangerous situations. But as Mastin Kipp says, when no mortal fear or danger is present, right? Those fears that are coming up, they're trying to keep us safe. They think they're trying to keep us safe. They're actually trying to keep us in their small little box. They're trying to keep us inside our comfort zone and what's predictable and safe. There's nothing that's safe, right? We think it's predictable, but is it really predictable? Because if COVID didn't show us what predictable is, that isn't. We never know what's going to happen from day to day. We can kind of start to play the odds of probability, a bit there. But even then, that's not even 100%. So play with this, journal, come back to this post. Let me know what showed up. Message me privately if you want to keep it private. I totally get it. Go ahead and journal, dive in there, dig in, see what comes up so you can recognize and know what is showing up for you, those voices, because it's often that you don't recognize that it's actually fear and it's just trying to keep you safe. It's overthinking, first guessing, second guessing, all the things. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, I can't wait to hear, if fear wasn't there, what would you be doing? What conversations would you be having? Where would you be going? What would you do? I want to know. I want to know that light, fun side of you that would be lit up and inspired, what it wants to do. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Love you. Yes. Hearts right back at you. Mwah. All right, everybody. Bye.